Hey everybody, this is Lauren from Black Sheep Endurance, and today we're gonna do a Q&A with Justin. We posted some stuff on his Instagram to see what you guys wanted to ask, and Justin is my first athlete. I've been coaching him now for 4.5 years. When he started with me, he was pretty good, but we've come a long way, especially on his bike, and really am excited to see where this pro thing goes.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Excited to be chatting, and thanks to everyone who popped in a question on Instagram. We're gonna just kind of record this podcast style off the cuff and run through the questions, try to keep it moving quickly, and we're gonna cover everything from how I've recovered from injury, diet, lactate, training approach, and then kind of what's next and my perspective on racing in the pro field this year as a rookie who got injured pretty quickly. For those who don't know, Lauren Goss is a former pro, was top 10 world rank in the female category before there was even world rankings. Won 1170.3s as a pro, so big part of our journey together. Not that I ever thought I'd go pro when I started working with Lauren, but I always thought it was really cool to be coached by an elite athlete who knew how to race, and I've learned a ton about approaching racing as a pro from a coach who knows what it takes and knows the mentality and the training approach and the lifestyle and all the other stuff that comes with it. All the sponsor money pouring in.
No, all of it. And
So,
also, I feel like you won a lot of the amateur races before we finally were like, we did both decided it was time to be pro
yeah,
because, yeah, we were very realistic about that decision. It took your time. So I
yep.
think that's been a key to why you've been doing pretty good. So, okay, Justin is coming off third place at 70.3 Cozumel after being injured since Oceanside. I am not taking any responsibility for that. Just kidding. Um, and okay, we're going to get through the questions now. So, Justin, our first question is what did your weekly training hours building up to Cozumel look like that last 4 weeks going into the race? And how did you fit in work, rest, and married life?
That's a good question. Let me pull up my training peaks. I looked at this last week. I've averaged 18 hours this year, starting from January 1st, including my injury period, which was quite high. It was higher than I thought it was. Definitely a lot higher than the last couple of years. Four
Yeah.
weeks in Cozumel were 4 of the 5 or 6 weeks that I was actually running since April 1st. I just started running in mid-July, end of July, just easing it up like literally 10 miles a week, 15 miles a week. I did 18 hours the last week of August, then 16 and a half, and then 24, which included, no, that was just a normal 24-hour week. And then the next week was 12 and 12. So I did kind of a mega taper because I got sick after that 24-hour week,
Yep.
and then had to back off to 12. And then my taper week was 12. So kind of interesting. I think we felt like 17 to 21 hours is like the sweet spot during a proper build and proper block for me while managing a full-time job and married life. To your point, Lauren, I train every morning and every night basically between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. I do my easier workout in the evening. And then, Saturday, 4 to 6 hours usually. And then Sunday, 2 to 4 hours, I would say, average. So that gets me to 20. And don't take any days off. I know that was another question that was asked on Instagram. Um, but hours is, I would say, like far less than most pros at 18 to 20. But I think that with the right approach and the right intensity, like that's plenty to be competitive. And frankly, as much as I can probably support with my job and recovery and prioritizing the other stuff and not getting injured.
Yeah, and I will say it, Justin does a really good job at sleeping, and he's a great sleeper, so he's really lucky there. I feel like you get good recovery, you can nap, and Justin has a great diet. So okay, moving on here. Okay, how often do you incorporate weight training?
I would say like very little, but more now. So prior to the injury, I would say nothing. a huge part of my recovery from the hip stress fracture was just strengthening the hip, and worked with a few different physical therapists to make that happen. I would say it's like less weight training and more about stability, mobility, and activation exercises. So things, single leg step ups, clamshells, lateral walks. Lately, I've been doing like a lot of marching drills with weighted marches, so like weighted farmer's march. So I would say one to two times per week for 15 to 40 minutes, I think is like going to be my sweet spot for continuous integration into a high volume, 20-hour week swim bike run program. Not as much to build strength, but in my head, it's injury prevention and resilience to be able to run more. And that's like my number one thing that I want to be focused on, I think, going forward.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of run volume, someone asked, how much do you do of each of the sports every week? Um,
Yeah, I swim 20K. I 18K average, but I usually try to hit 20 a week, which is like 4 to 5 swims of 4 to 5K. I bike anywhere from like 8 to 13 hours, depending on the week, and how long my weekend ride is usually the big variable. But weekdays, I just ride the trainer indoors, and then weekends, I always try to get outside. And then running has been like, you know, zero for months, and now I'm, I don't know, 25 miles a week, and I really am being quite conservative, and if anything pops up in my body, I'm like backing off the intensity right now, very little speed work. But I think my ideal, we should talk about this, Lauren, like going forward, like I think for me to get to the next level, like I do need to get to that like 50 miles a week sweet spot, which I've never been at in my career, in my triathlon journey. Like the most I've ever gotten to without injury was 40 for 1 month last year before Indian Wells. And then I did it again in February and then got injured. So like I haven't tried to push it back to 40 yet,
yeah.
but I think we'll have to figure out how the hell we do that, because I don't think I'll ever run 112 off the bike without that.
Yeah, it's been super interesting because you've probably done only 2 or 3 interval runs since Oceanside. I mean, not
Before
many at all.
Cozumel, yeah, I mean, we
Yeah,
did, we had 3 workouts planned as 6 by 1K, 8 by 1K, and 5 by 2K, right? We're like, okay, like one a week for the 3 weeks before the taper. And we ended up canceling one of them because I felt like I had some hip inflammation and I got scared. And then the other one was like changed back to 6 by 1K. So I mean, I literally ran like 15K under 6:30 pace, and these were at like 5:45 per mile threshold pace before that race. So going into it, I was super nervous about like, wow, I'm gonna run 6 flat for 13 miles, and I haven't done that in 6 months. I didn't know if I'd run 120 or 135, honestly.
yeah, yeah. I was super impressed with your run there. And especially that you hadn't run over 10 miles, but were able to close that last 5K as your fastest of the day. So, there's a lot of mystery to Justin's race. Just me as a coach, like have a lot of experience with athletes, and it's just like we're just finding in triathlon at least to perform on the run, like you really just need that bike volume, and you need to make that. Well, you need to make that swim and bike feel super easy. And another leading into another question, someone asked, how did you make 300 watts feel easy for a race pace? Because you were riding 300 watts. You've always been riding 300 watts, but like this was in Cozumel with high heat and humidity. But also in the past, 300 watts have been challenging. And so, what do you think contributed to that switch? And I know that's not just one answer. So,
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, right? Like I shared the numbers in Cozumel on my Instagram and said like 300 watts normalized power, like, and I rode 158 or 159, so like that doesn't line up, right? Like I rode 300 watts 6 times as an amateur, maybe right there, right between 290 and 310. But I rode like 207, 205, 209, and the difference is like largely that 300 watts in Cozumel. Yeah, it's hot as hell, and 20 minutes of it was above 350, and a bunch of it's at 250. So it's just like the intensity is so much higher with the normalized power being lower and the speed being higher. But I think a lot of it just comes down to like how do you make that feel easy? Years of cycling. Like I don't know. I don't think there's a single answer. Like there's no magic workout that I did for 4 weeks all of a sudden and then 300 watts became easy. I think for me this year, not running and being able to double down on the cycling training in the middle of the summer was pretty big. You know, I did a few different like little camps with big long rides back to back. I did a 5 day gravel stage race, 350 miles, like 20 hours of riding in 5 days. 20 hours of racing at like 260 watts over 5 days. You know, a lot of LT2 threshold, 300, 310 watt work on the trainer, intervals like 5 by 10 minutes, and just making that feel easy. But I'd say, you know, what do you think, Lauren? Like, I think it's mostly like high volume on the bike and then being able to like really find the balance between when to train the anaerobic system in these high intensity rides. I guess like the group rides that I was doing, the shootout ride here in Vegas and some of those high intensity rides like did contribute to my ability to like raise the ceiling while
Yeah.
making the floor more efficient.
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest difference. I mean, first one, you had time, so I feel like when you're doing all three sports, like you only have you have a certain amount of time to ride your bike, right? And so that extra volume of easy riding is like the thing to go. And therefore, I feel like last year with your intervals, we did most of your intervals. I mean, we did them all at either um, LT1 or LT2. So, um, and someone asked, how do we establish lactate training intensities? For Justin, we were like around 3.2 millimoles at his LT2. I would say that's where we try to, hang out, and then 1.0 for LT1. And this year we had more time. So we were able to do more volume, just easy riding on the bike. But we also had some wiggle room to incorporate like higher VO2 max stuff, because we weren't having to show up for a run workout the next day. And I really learned as a coach. I really never thought that type of work was necessary for someone like Justin, who's already has a high VO2 max. I've always thought an athlete like Justin would want to be able to extend his LT2 longer. But this year we had like I said, more wiggle room, and I could play around with it, and we just added more high intensity, but not much. And I think that was it's knowing how much to add and then when to pull back. And I think we've been working together so long now that we are able to communicate and kind of find that sweet spot. So, this year has been different because we've had more easy riding, so higher volume, but we've also added that VO2 max work in. And again, it wasn't much, like maybe 4 by 2 minutes at the end of a long ride, right? It wasn't like, or you're doing a group ride and I'm in the past telling Justin, don't go off the front. And now I'm like, okay, you can.
Yeah.
And that's been a place in my own coaching that I'm just keep learning. So, I think that was a huge contributor to kind of leveling up on the bike this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in regards to the amounts, like the specifics, in case people are interested, like we're talking like one hard ride every 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
by hard, it's like, you know, I go out and do an 80-mile group ride and I'll normalize like 250 and I'll do like 3 times 15 minutes at 300 to 315 at threshold. And then I might do like a 10-minute all out effort at 370 and then like a 12-minute all out effort at 380 or 370. And that's it. So you're talking about like 20 minutes total of that like max VO2, really, really hard, heart rate's going up and to the right. You're racing. And 20 minutes over 40 hours of training, to put it in perspective, as what percent of your volume is it? It's still incredibly small, but like that little small piece, as long as you can recover from it and back it up, like has been pretty critical, I think, to, again, tying back to the original question of like, how do you get to being able to ride 300 watts easily? Well, you train a little bit above it. You train mostly, at 290, 300, and then you build the foundation and the base. So it's, ultimately like just a broad spectrum of volumes and intensities across the board.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I think everybody's trying to crack this code on like what's the perfect way to train, and it's not rocket science. It's like hit all the intensities. But the important piece is not going too hard. So like no, he's not over here doing Zwift races, right? Like
Never.
the intensity is sprinkled in very strategically, and there is a cap. And so it's also knowing when to pull back. And I feel like Justin and I again have that great relationship where he needs me to tell him like you can only do 10 minutes of this during your ride today. And he listens. And ego aside, like it's just been really, really helpful. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's why his bike got better this year. Okay. Will you be tackling a full distance Ironman anytime soon as a pro? No.
So I was waiting for you to answer that one. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, never say never. But anytime soon, no, it's not in the cards for 2024, I don't think. Like, I think 70.3 is where I can be competitive if I can get my run down to like 114, 115. I honestly believe I can be winning some lower tier races and being on the podium at the big ones if I can ride with the best of them and then only be outran by guys like Jackson Laundry or somebody who runs a 112 that day who's getting off the bike in the front, like Sam Long and Lionel. So, like, that's where I think I can be next year if I stay healthy, frankly. I have never cracked the Ironman code. Like, even as an amateur, I was like decent and I was just scraping by. And I've never been able to stay healthy enough to put in the proper run build to run 3 hours or 2:55. Like, I know that aerobically I could do that. And metabolically I could support a 2:50, 2:55 run. Like, my half Ironman and my marathon split of a 2:35, like, should suggest that I can do that, but my body just falls apart. Every Ironman that I've done, I hit the mile 13, mile 14, and like my legs and knees and back and like skeletally and muscularly go to shit. Not because I'm out of shape, but because I haven't put in the necessary run volume and the resilience to run an Ironman well. And in the pro field, like there's no hiding. Like if you look at the way these guys are performing at the Ironman level in the pro field, it's crazy to me. Like two guys I beat, Michael Weiss and Andre Lopez in Cozumel, like they've won Ironmans. Like I like my ability to perform at the 70.3 level is just so much higher right now than it is at the Ironman level.
I forgot you ran that marathon. 2:35.
2:36 with a poop stop at
Pretty
mile 7.
good.
Yeah.
Because you didn't run more than like 40 miles a week.
No, it was like 30 miles a week. Yeah. But I couldn't. I mean, remember
It was such a dumb idea.
I had Achilles tendonitis like 3 weeks later, and it
It
took
was
me like
such a dumb idea.
literally took me a month to recover.
Yeah, it was
And I was
brutal.
like, I'm never doing a marathon again. And then, I
If you
had
did
it.
the Ironman, it would take you too long to recover, period. And like right now, you just can't do the training to like recover
Yeah.
quick.
I'd like to be able to like race Kona someday in the pro field in 2028. Seems like a good goal. Is that when
Write
it's
it
going to
down,
be there?
baby.
2023, 2024?
Write it
Yeah,
down.
2026, 2028, maybe I'll be at Kona. But no, not anytime soon.
Cool. Okay. Were you always a good swimmer? How did you make the jump from amateur to pro in the swim?
Um, yeah, I was always a pretty good swimmer. It's the only thing I had a little bit of a head start in. I'd say heading into triathlon, I played water polo in high school, varsity. It was decent. Never that good. Never good enough to play D1 college water polo, but I actually never swam on swim team. I quit swim team when I was 12, and I swam like, 5K a week on the water polo team, and then I played baseball. So I was not a swimmer, but my first 70.3, I swam a 30 on no swim training. So that was like where I started from. Like zero swim training, out of shape, could swim a 30. And then within like a year, I was swimming 26, 27 in the amateur field. And then just started chipping away, swimming 10K a week for 2 years, dropped down to 25 pretty naturally. And then like it's been a lot of work to get to the front pack pro level.
Yeah.
I swam 20K a week this year for the first time, up 50% from last year's volume, where I averaged 13 or 14K a week. And so the shortest answer is like, how do I go from amateur to pro in the swim? Like, I started swimming a lot more and a lot longer and a lot harder.
And you're also very lucky that you have a great group to swim with in Vegas. Like he's not grinding by himself looking at the black line 5K every day. Like,
No, I mean, that would be horrible. Like,
yeah,
that would make me want to quit the sport. Like, I think finding
you'd
a good
have to be
swim
a
group is
psycho to
so
do that.
important. Yeah, I don't know how people swim 20K a week by themselves. It's nuts. I have a great group. We meet at 6:40 a.m. It's not too early. We have the whole pool. Every day we have our own double wide lane and a 10-foot deep pool. I like literally am thankful every single day for that because I know how shitty it was to swim in San Francisco for 5 years, where I was paying out the ass for a gym membership in a gross pool where I was splitting lanes with people doing water aerobics and there's band-aids floating around and it's warm and it's dark and you're like you're checking how many yards you've swam after like the 600 warm up. You know, you're like, get me out of here. And then it's like, you know, I was taking the bus to work. Like things were different. And now it's like, I work from home. I wake up at 6:10. I'm in the pool at 6:40, like to walk you through a day in the life. And then I'm on my first Zoom meeting at 8:30 because the pool's 5 minutes away. And I actually bought my house because it was close to the pool and the trails and the freeway, knowing like this is the lifestyle like I'm gonna like that's gonna suit me to make this not a grind because it's not a grind. I was so pumped to go to the pool today, dapping up Kyle and Justin and Kevin and all the guys that show up every day, and everyone does the workouts that we build together,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So I just show up, I say here's the workout, it's 4 to 5K, and I say last week everyone did race pace because I had a race. This week
I
everyone's
love
doing
that.
yeah.
It's so nice because you just find in this sport everybody has their own little training plan. And so that's so awesome. People are willing to support you and do that. And then
And my
also,
advice for
Justin,
people who are struggling with the swim is like find a group, find an accountability
yeah,
partner, and just commit to swimming more and more consistently and set a schedule.
agreed. Okay, going in straight to diet. Three people asked about your diet. On the way home from the pool, Justin forgot to mention he grabs a breakfast burrito.
I kind of stopped doing that honestly, but I was doing that in my injury phase when I was trying to put on weight to like chub up and get my bones healthy. I don't know. A lot of advice I got was like put on weight and eat as much as you can and make sure you're fueling. But my diet is I would say has gotten pretty healthy and dialed since getting injured. I would say a little bit more just because I've crossed every T and dotted every I. Like I stopped drinking, which is like kind of crazy when I think about that. Like, but I've enjoyed it honestly a lot because it's helped my sleep quality and, I won't not drink. Like, when you visited a few weeks ago, I had a cocktail out at dinner, but like, and then I had a couple shots and a margarita after Cozumel. But like, honestly, other than those 2 days, I probably haven't drank in a month, for example. So like, I'm drinking 2 days a month instead of twice a weekend. And then at night, I've been trying to cook almost every night between a carb, a fat, and a protein. I still eat a little bit of ice cream, but not like 5 scoops. Like I'm going for like slightly lower calorie, healthier options. At lunch, like I had a turkey and cheese panini today with like avocado. And then breakfast is like, protein shake, eggs, toast, avocado. Like I just basically don't subscribe to any kind of diet. So I'm not like high carb, low carb, keto, vegan. I'm like I eat carbs, fats, and proteins across the board. Try to generally cook more than I eat out or get takeout, and yeah, like don't eat shit basically. And I think
And
I've
you
dialed
also
that
fuel really well during training, so you're not like
a
snacking
bit.
all day. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I feel like any threshold workout, I'm trying to hit 90 grams of carbs an hour. My non-threshold workouts, like I'm eating right before the workout and right after, even if it's an hour-long swim, for example.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, it's like eat a lot for sure because I think fueling and like recovery is critical to make sure you're getting enough calories in, and I just use that by monitoring my weight basically. Like I know that if I'm over 160, I'm in good shape. I'm not bordering on like losing weight or not being in a caloric deficit by any means.
Yeah. Cool. It's pretty simple. There's no secrets. Again, it's just balance there.
Yeah,
Okay. Who would win a 5K right now? Running race? Sean Mahoney? I definitely would beat you, I think.
you would beat me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A 5K running race?
yeah,
For sure, dude.
yeah. I think you
For
would
sure.
too. I think I could run 5:10 pace. Ooh, I don't know. That would hurt. I'd be limping after probably. Like that's the problem. Like I could probably I don't know. I think you'd beat me though.
I'd probably beat you, but I don't think either of us are going to be running
We're not
5K
gonna be doing
anytime
that
soon.
anytime soon. No, that sounds horrible.
That sounds horrible. That would be a 16:02 for a 5:10 pace. Just,
I think I could go like 16:30 for
yeah.
sure. And like if I trained and wanted to break 16, I think I could in like a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. How did you stay motivated during your injury?
Honestly, it was tough at times. It's a deep cut. It's a deep question.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, it was like quit or press forward, you know? Like, what were my options? Like, I had to get healthy at some point. So, I mean, I care about triathlon. I still love it. I love the grind. I love the training, the day to day. So, part of it was like, I was only on crutches for a month. That helped. And even when I was on crutches, I was training like crazy. I was swimming 25K a week, all easy. So, I wasn't like stressing my body too much so I could recover. But I was able to do something almost every single day. I was never like in a wheelchair for 3 months, like which is, you
Yeah.
know, some people's situations if they're in a really tough crash or something, like they actually can't do anything. So for me, the motivation lied in still being able to stick to a day-to-day grind and a routine, and then it just shifted the focus. Like rather than getting race ready, I was like, I'm gonna grind on my physical therapy today. Like I'm gonna grind on pulling with paddles. So I kind of just try to stay in the like rhythm of training throughout my injury recovery. And then I, you know, had some fun. Like I did this awesome 5 day gravel race with
Yeah.
Tom up in Oregon. I did a EMJ camp in Napa. Like I did the Belgian waffle ride in Cedar City. So, you know, just kept fun. But I also like, I still felt like I had unfinished business. I'm 29. I turned pro for a reason to see how good I can get. And I didn't feel like this stress fracture, like a lot of people have overcome it and gotten better. And so I just kept that in mind and like made sure that as long as I do this right, like it won't come back to bite me in the ass, and I can still have a really solid like 5 to 7 year pro career after this.
Yeah, and I think also just outside looking in, you like surrounded yourself with people. So like you became friends with Kyle, who kind of started your YouTube and kind of tracked your recovery, and then you had the swim group, and like you had a social life and your wife. And I just think kind of getting out of your own head was super, like you didn't have any self-pity. I mean, maybe behind the scenes a little bit, but you really tried hard to like see the, I don't know, the learning opportunity out of this, right?
Yeah,
And also forced you to seek out the best. You know, you flew to Seattle to go see Chris, your PT. Like you sought out all your resources that you could. And so
yeah,
I think that's how you got through it, right? Just taking action.
for sure.
Um, all right. Okay. Now that you have made the podium in a pro race, are you considering switching to full-time racing and leaving your job?
No. Hell no.
Good
I
answer.
mean, it's funny. Like I think like when I was an amateur like a few years ago, I might have thought like, oh yeah, like if you make a pro podium or if you're top 10 at a big race like Indian Wells or Oceanside or something, like you make it. Like no, it's like there's so little money in the sport. Like leaving my job, like and there are a lot of pros that are trying to grind it out without a full time job so they can like optimize their lifestyle and like sleep and recover and train 30 hours a week. I mean, I have a hot take on that, which is like, I've gotten to this level with a full time job. Like, why can't I get even better? And why can't other people get to this level with a full time job? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a little ignorant because I did get injured, and like maybe I won't get that much better next year if I can't recover and can't have to keep traveling every month for my job and working like basically 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Like, but I mean, quitting like my wife would kill me. Like, what? Who's
Well,
gonna
I
pay our
also think you
mortgage?
kind of
Like,
like living a bougier lifestyle. Like, I mean, you know what I
yeah,
mean? I'm serious. You can't have
yeah.
that like liquor bar you have at your house off triathlon.
That I literally
You'd have
have a
like four
garage
roommates, dude.
that you're the only one who's drank from.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
I don't
no, it's
know.
true. Like I like nice cars and being able to not look at prices of how like what races I can do, right? It's like, oh yeah, like
Yeah,
I would like to go race in Asia or South America or like stay at a nice place. Like yeah, like I don't have to worry about that stuff because I have a career in tech that I've worked my ass off to build. Like
yeah,
throwing that away would be like crazy. I worked really hard early in my career to get to where I am now, where I'm
really
still
hard.
working hard, but I have the flexibility that I've earned. I have a team of 17 people under me. Like I've, you know, gotten to the point in my career, frankly, where I like, don't really want to be promoted because it would mean less time to train. I'm not looking for any kind of new jobs or other companies at all. Haven't even talked to a recruiter in 2 years because I know that like I'm in a really solid position right now where I have the flexibility and the trust from leadership to be able to be ultimately super flexible. I have unlimited time off, which I definitely use to my advantage for training and racing um, within reason. Like, and again, I still am required to go to weekly onsite or a monthly onsite in either Austin or Ohio, and that's probably the most disruptive thing to the sleep or
Yeah,
the training for sure. Because like, I don't bring a bike; it's hard to find a pool. I basically like go into those little trips smashed and then recover through them and then come back out of the other side hoping I'm not sick and I can actually like get a big ride in that weekend. But
And
no,
we like to plan those as your down days, like
exactly.
you just like plan around it.
And the idea of quitting my job to be a pro is the stress that that would add and the pressure of performing and like it would make this, it would turn this whole thing, this whole pursuit, this whole endeavor, whatever you want to call it, obsession, from fun, hobby, nothing to lose, to like pressure my entire identity. Um,
Hmm.
and I think you start to always just wish you were at the top because frankly, like even when you win a single 70.3 or qualify for world championships, like sponsors are like tightening up to make reliable money. Like you have to be world class in my opinion from what I'm seeing. Like to make six figures in triathlon, I think you've got to be top 30 in the world, give or take. I mean, I am 150th or 170th ish. If you like,
When
even
you
if I get
become
way
30th, you
better,
can quit your job. Okay?
yeah, yeah. If I crack top 20 in the world, I will quit my job for sure. But that's never gonna. I don't think. I never say never, but like that's not in the cards. That's not our plan. I'm not willing to sacrifice my life to pursue that. I'm interested in becoming the best triathlete I possibly can be with, I would say, with a full time job, frankly.
Yeah. I think that's great perspective and like you said, nothing to lose. Um, okay. What does Justin was supposed to race this weekend in Colombia, a challenge
Yeah.
race, but just got canceled today.
My flight is in 6 hours.
His flight's in 6 hours. That's a bummer, but honestly, blessing in disguise because he's still recovering from Cozumel. Okay, so since there's no races on the calendar, let's talk about the training between now and Indian Wells because we have 2 months. I mean, I guess I
Yeah.
should answer that question.
I was gonna say this is like a peeling back the curtain for viewers on like how we plan training since we actually haven't talked about this. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Like, what do you obviously
Like the
like my
swim's
goal?
gonna stay the swim. You're gonna swim
I
20K a
feel like
week.
we also the other thing we always do is like we start usually we're like, what's the goal, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do we think is a good result in Indian Wells? It's like swim front pack,
Yep.
don't get dropped on the bike even by the best riders, meaning ride with Sam, ride with Jackson, ride with anyone that comes by me, in my opinion.
And it would be nice, Justin, if you could feel like in Cozumel, you felt like you were in control of the bike, and very
Yeah.
confident. Not in control, but like I guess in control of yourself, right? Like you could make any move that you needed to on that day,
Yeah.
right? That everybody was in kind of that level for you. And it would be nice at Indian Wells for you to be in that same position. Like if somebody's going to go off the front, you can decide if that's something you want to do, and you're not just barely hanging in the pack, Like
Yeah. That
that's a
obviously
goal
that
for
always
me.
depends on the start list and who shows up and who's fit and who's
Yeah.
fresh and where I'm at. But like, yeah, in a perfect world, it's swim front pack, bike in the front of the race, dropping everyone behind me. That's not in that front swim pack. Basically, how last year played out. And then run. Fuck, I mean, I'd like to run 115. I ran 118 there last year. I I think a 115 is always. I've always been on the cusp of being able to do it. Like I ran 117 in Santa Cruz, and again, like I've never cracked that code. My 123 in Cozumel, I think, was close to a 117. Just because Tomas, who won the race, ran 117, and he told me, I mean, he's run sub 110 like many times, and he said his 117 was the same as those runs.
Yeah.
And if that's true, like, yeah, I think a 115 would put me in a top five position. I think top five is the goal.
Yeah. And I think to get there, I mean, people might think this sounds crazy, but running consistently 35 miles a week. Um, maybe get up to 40, but not press. And just keeping the legs fresh, like one run session a week. It'd be nice to be able to do some longer, like LT1 type long runs, I think. And then just keep that bike. I mean, boring answer, but kind of the same with the swim and bike. You're gonna have to stay consistent, 20K a week swimming, and riding 10 to 12 hours a week. And again, just hitting those intensities, right? And so
Yeah.
now, since we don't have to recover from a race, Justin has some work trips coming up, but like I would say the next 3 weeks for the bike is just getting in a lot of volume. Um,
Yeah. And I feel like I don't need that much intensity on the bike over the next 3 weeks
yeah,
as I focus on building up the run resilience and the run mileage again and
exactly.
get like I just need to get 35 miles a week under my belt for 2 or 3 weeks and start incorporating that weekly run speed work session, whatever that looks like, and maybe a little bit of high end speed work like 400s with like some threshold work, but nothing crazy, 6 by 1K. The other thing I'd be curious to unpack is like, should we move to like 4 by 1K twice a week instead of an 8 by 1K type workout? And then
Yeah.
increasing frequency of running. Like I've just ran 3 days in a row, which is like feeling good. And every single day, you're just layering on that resilience that I just haven't had because of the lack of volume this year. So
Yeah, and gaining the confidence that you won't get injured. And um, I think doing a lot of the sessions on the treadmill is going to be good just to get that turnover in your legs, and that less, impact from the road.
yeah,
But yeah, I think for Justin, we're going to move towards, so we'll do like 3 weeks of volume coming up. Um, but when we do these volume blocks, like the swim is always the same. Like
yeah,
there's a LT2, two LT2 sessions, two LT1 sessions, and an easy swim. I would say like
yeah,
pretty standard. And yeah, and then when we're like a month out, we just do these race pace sessions, like long intervals in TT at 300 to 310 watts with very low rest between. And I think that's we'll do 4 by 30 with 3 minutes rest in between. So essentially he's doing 2 hours at race pace 4 weeks in a row at before the race. And I would love to incorporate some higher intensity runs off the bike.
yeah.
Also, Indian Wells is hilly, so we probably will be doing some like hill stuff on the treadmill as well, just to get ready for those
Yeah,
the
it's just
surges
like
up the hill,
punchy, it's
the
like,
punchy stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not even hilly. It's just
It's
it's
like
a
a
golf
cross
course.
country, yeah, a cross country style run on a path and with turns and stuff. And
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay, to wrap it up, dream bike sponsor.
Canyon,
Okay. Dream run shoe sponsor.
Nike, but they don't sponsor anyone, so I already
Dream.
have every Nike. I don't know. I don't really want either of those, to be honest. I don't know why. I love my bike. I have a felt IA FRD. It's top of the line.
Great.
Nope. Yeah.
Yeah. These are just dream,
I don't.
hypothetical.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want a sponsor. I
Okay.
just want a sponsor that's gonna pay for my travel. I don't care what
Yeah.
company they are. I just want round trip ticket to Worlds next year in New Zealand.
With
Uh,
coach.
yeah, with coach, with my family at the
Family.
race.
Okay, wrap it up. Who is in your hit list to beat at Indian Wells or, next year in 2024?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I want to be like top 10 American. And so everyone below that is on my hit list. Just pull it up. PTO, USA. We got Justin Metzler, Ben Hoffman, Dylan Gillespie. Um,
Does Ben Hoffman still race?
he's 94 in the world. Yeah.
Shit. Go
Um,
Ben.
he's only raced full, it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, like I want to beat those guys. I think I could beat like a Mark Dubrick if the right race dynamics played out on the bike, and a Matt Hansen and a Trevor Foley. Like I think all three of those guys, they're like uber runners. And if I can get in a race and race like Jackson Laundry, and so like I'd say like Jackson Laundry's like if I ever beat him, I've like made it, because he's so consistent. It seems, and he races in a style that I want to race in. Like he usually swims front pack or right behind it. He bikes his ass off and usually gets away and off the front. In both of my races, Indian Wells and Oceanside, I attempted to ride with him and then proceeded to like get dropped and then blow up. And but I think I can get to a point where like I can get off the bike with him and then run 3 or 4 minutes slower than him. and like run that 1:15, and that would put me in like an amazing position that could hold off guys. Like if you look at, he had 4.5 minutes on Lionel and Trevor in Augusta, he and
Wow.
Mika Newt. And so if I swim and
Is
bike with,
Jackson a good swimmer? Like front pack?
he's like right behind me or same as me.
Just depending on
Yeah,
the race.
but like yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like he'll get dropped in like a top race by the top swimmers, like I did in Oceanside. But we came out of Oceanside together, 40 seconds back.
Okay.
So he's a solid swimmer. And you know, when I look at he and Mika getting 4.5 minutes on Trevor and Lionel and like 9 minutes on the rest of the field off the
Yeah.
bike, I would have had to run like 1:15 to beat Lionel and Trevor in that race, and ride 1:59 with the front guys. But like, I think that's possible.
So if he shows
Anyway,
up at Indian Wells, Justin, are you gonna ride with him? Jackson Laundry?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's my ticket to dropping everybody behind me and then hanging on. I mean, that's what I did last year. Is I rode with Jackson and Sam for like 15 miles, built a huge gap on the rest of the field, and then let them go, and then rode 300 watts the rest of the race, and then ran a 1:18 and got sixth place, and only got caught by Matt McElroy, who, had a
Fantastic
solid
runner.
debut
Yeah.
race, and yeah. So I feel like the race dynamics are super important for me because like if I went and raced any of these BS races like Augusta or Oregon or Maine, which
And
to me
he
it's
says BS because the
the
swim.
downstream swim. Like
Yeah.
there's no gaps being formed in the swim, and that's why Cozumel played so well for me because we put 5 minutes into guys like Michael Weiss who were dropped in the swim and then never in the race. And so,
Yeah.
I think like choosing courses with strong fields benefits me, because I'm at the front of the race with those guys and can benefit from those pack dynamics. Where in Cozumel, like I wasn't able to drop the group, for example, in the bike because there was nobody to come through and split it apart like a Sam Long or a
Yeah.
Jackson Laundry. So we'll see. Everyone's on my hit list. Again, I think I can put together some more solid races with healthy running under my belt.
Yeah. Cool. Well, great chat. And I guess follow Justin on his next few months of training.
Yeah.
And we will see everybody at Indian Wells.